to the news that Bradley Beal, or this is not really news to us, that Bradley Beal is leaning towards staying with the Washington Wizards, and some rumors that the Wizards will be targeting Malcolm Brogdon. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Just want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. All right, so Ava Wallace from the Washington Post interviewed Bradley Beal, and he said that he's leaning towards staying in Washington, which is not any news to Wizards fans or anybody that pays attention to the Wizards at all. He said the same thing in an interview where in the middle of the season, a couple weeks after the trade deadline, where he had the cast on and they asked him if he's leaning towards staying with the Washington Wizards. And he said that's very fair. He said that's fair. That's fair. He said that very calm and chill and relaxed, knowing that most likely he's going to get $250 million. He's going to get a 5-year, $246 million contract, or $250 million, which has been reported by ESPN and different outlets. Whether it's 246 or $250 million, it's going to be $250 million. He's going to get $250 million. He's going to be one of the highest paid players in NBA history. It will be the largest. If he were to sign a 5-year, $250 million deal, it would be the largest contract in NBA history for Bradley Beal. Now, Bradley Beal he's played 10 years. So with 10 years of service, he's eligible for this max deal, this super max contract from the Washington Wizards, because he's played with the same team. He's had 10 years in the NBA. And then the benefit of this over other deals or signing elsewhere, he can't get a 5-year deal with anywhere else. So let's say he does request a trade and does a sign and trade with the 76ers and goes to the Sixers or goes to the Miami Heat. They can only give him 4 years, where the Wizards, they can give him 5 years. So they can give him the most amount of money and they can give him the longest deal. So the common man, they're looking at that, and Bradley Beal's like, hey, I'm going to just stay here. Or what can happen is he can sign that deal, and let's say the Wizards have a lackluster, underwhelming season again, then he can request a trade the following season, and then hopefully the Wizards can get some valuable assets, draft picks, and a good player in return for Bradley Beal. So I'll go over the pros and the cons of bringing back Bradley Beal. The pros is he's a great player. He's a great player. Three-time All-Star, All NBA, can fill it up, can score at will, can get to the basket at will, can shoot the ball. The majority of his career, he's been able to shoot the ball. 3-time All-Star, 2021 All-NBA, 2013 All-Rookie Team. He's a great player. He's a culture guy that Ted Leonsis is looking for, and Tommy Shepard, what they're looking for. He just built courts in D.C. for young men to go to. He's been a great guy off the court, helping the young men at the all-boys school in D.C. as well. So he's everything that you ask for off the court. He's a good guy, and on the court too. He's a great player. There's some things that, like Tommy Shepard said, that he sees on social media, and are they talking about the same guy? Bradley Beal averaged 30 points, was second in the NBA in scoring in 2021 when we made the playoffs, and then the year before that, he scored 30 points a game. Now, you can talk about the rest of the roster. The roster compared to other NBA teams wasn't great, and that could be a big reason why Bradley Beal filled it up with those numbers. But Bradley Beal's been an elite scorer for the majority of his careers, and every year he has gotten better. You want to see a guy get better when you're giving him such a deal. I think from his rookie year, the ball handling needed a lot of work. There were, he had a tag of being injury prone, and he was able to stay healthy. You look at his career in a couple of years, you look in 2018, he played 82 games. He played the whole season. 2019, he played the whole season, where years before in 2016, he played 55 games. 2015, he played 63 games. His rookie year, played 56 games. Now, the last 3 years, 2020, he played 57 games. 2021, he played 60 games. And this year, he played 40 games. So he's missed a good amount of games in the last 3 years as well, to be fair. So the pros, can you build around Bradley Beal? Is he number one option on the championship team? He's not. Is he a number 2 or number 3 option? I think that's fair. Can he be a number 1 option on a playoff team and make a run at least to the second round? That's to be questioned. You really have to build around Bradley Beal. just like anybody else. I really look at his situation similar to a Zach LaVine or a Devin Booker, where they're shooting guards. They can score the ball really well at a high clip, very efficient, but they really, really need guys around it. They really need a table setter like a Chris Paul, or how they build around the Zach LaVine with Lonzo Ball. They brought a DeMar DeRozan. Now they have Porzingis with the Wizards, and we'll see how that works out. But for me, unfortunately, there's a good amount of cons to this. Now the Wizards, they gave a big deal to Gilbert Arenas. They gave a big deal to John Wall. Both those deals didn't work out. Both those players, I felt like, earned their money. John Wall, I felt like he earned that money in 2017. I felt like Gilbert, put the city on his back and made the Wizards relevant at that time. Bradley Beal has had a really good career, multiple-time All-Star, 3-time All-Star. But, this season, it was rough. And if you listen to a lot of the fan base, do they want to rebuild? That's the question that's circulating. Do they want to rebuild or build around Bradley Beal? And the majority is saying rebuild. Bradley Beal, a 35-point Clipper collapse. The question marks of being a leader and being an alpha dog. I think when you get a max deal, you have to check the box. You have to check the boxes of being an alpha. You have to check the boxes of being a leader. And not everybody's a vocal leader, but you have to check the boxes of being a leader and alpha. Are you a two-way player? Can you defend at a high level too? That's the question mark with Bradley Beal as well. Can you stay healthy? I think Bradley Beal, for the most part, does stay healthy. The last 3 years hasn't shown that for the most part, but he has been healthy and played more than 60% of the games for most of his last 3 to 4 years. But the leadership is a question mark. The two-way player is a question mark for me. And how much does he elevate the team and elevate players around? Does he make anybody better around? Does he elevate the team? Those are the question marks as well when you give him a max deal. I mean, he's going to be him and Steph are going to be the two highest players in the league. But Bradley Beal right now, if you ask yourself, is he a top 10 player in the league? He's not a top 10 player in the league right now. Is he a top 20 player in the league? I don't think so. You look at what Jaylen Brown did last night for the Celtics. I think Jaylen Brown has somewhat at Bradley Beal's level or past him this year. Bradley Beal had a rough year. He had the lowest points per game since 2016 with 23 points per game. His lowest field goal percentage since 2015. And his three-point percentage, he shot 30% from the three-point line, which is a career low for Bradley Beal. And you compare him to the other guys in the Eastern Conference, Giannis, Embiid, Kevin Durant. The East is getting better. What's your ceiling building around Bradley Beal? Those are the question marks you have to ask as well. The Miami Heat are going to be good next year. Jimmy Butler's going to be there for the next 4 to 5 years. I feel like the Celtics, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they're young. They're going to be there for the next 5 to 10 years. Giannis isn't going anywhere. He's going to be there for the next 5 to 10 years. The Sixers with Joel Embiid, we'll see what happens with his future, but they want to build around him, of course, and build a team around him. He's going to be there for the next 4 to 5 years. The Raptors right now are better rostered. They're just a better team. They made the playoffs. The Chicago Bulls, we'll see what happens with Zach LaVine, but right now they're a better team. The Nets are a better team. So that's 7 teams you can name already that are better than the Washington Wizards. Most likely will be better than the Wizards next year. But the Brooklyn Nets, I would monitor Kyrie Irving's situation. What's going on with the rumors coming out right now. They're unwilling to bring him back. I do want to talk about that next episode. The Hawks right now, Trae Young's not going anywhere for a while. The Cleveland Cavaliers are young and getting better. Garland, Okoro, Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley. Those guys are getting called in Sexton. We'll see what happens with him. But those guys, they're going to be there for the next 5 to 10 years as well. They're getting better. LaMelo Ball with the Charlotte Hornets. So that's 10 teams right now. It's tough for the Washington Wizards to really compete. And like I said, that 35-point loss, some of the leadership, controlling the locker room, some things that transpired this year, Bradley Beal, the question mark is the leadership and just being that alpha, being a leader. So those are the question marks for me, giving him that max deal with the Washington Wizards. Great player, and I think I'm not going to say it's not fair, but he's a great player. And him getting that deal and the Wizards, it's going to be tough for the Wizards to build around him as well. They're already over the salary cap. We already know ownership doesn't want to touch get into the luxury tax to build around this team. So it makes it hard to build around this team and build a contender. What's the ceiling? What's the end game with Bradley Beal being your number one option and getting a max deal? Great player, all-star player, all NBA caliber type of guy. I like what I saw somewhat in point guard Bradley Beal, but he's best when he has a table setter around him. And like I said, the turnovers in the clutch as well are concerning for me. I think if you're going to be a max deal guy, I think you got to be a closer as well. You got to be a guy that a team can be confident and give him the basketball and just say, hey, go score in the last couple of seconds of the game. And he has had some instances where he has, tripped over his feet, slipped and fell. So It's just question marks with giving him this max deal, but we know the direction of this roster and this team, and there's nothing we can do about it. I like Bradley Beal, and I'm intrigued to see how they build around him. I'm intrigued. If they are going to give him this max deal, I want to see how they build around him. Are they able to bring in talent around Bradley Beal and get the best out of him? And he has to step up as well. He has to get back to that 2019, 2024 where he's getting to the basket, being explosive, and shooting at least 35% from the three-point line. He's got to do that. And he is capable of making his teammates better. I like what I saw with point guard Bradley Beal. But those are the question marks for me after he gets that max deal for sure. But we're going to take a quick break here and get a quick word from our sponsor. And then I want to talk about the Malcolm Brogdon rumors that were brought up. And, you could take – this is from Sports Illustrated, so I do want to read what they said very quickly. But before we do get to that, this episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now possible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questions like, is your Odyssey an LX or an EX? And wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer. Choosing the only brand that warehouse happens to carry, you have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, locked on in there. How did you hear about us box so they know we sent you? Amazing selections, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need from rockauto.com. Just want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Make sure to go check out Locked On NBA Big Board. Host Rafael Barlow from NBA Draft Junkies and author of the NBA Big Board newsletter is joined by Richard Stamen, Sam Ferris, and Leif Thulin, giving fans an in-depth look into the NBA draft, mock draft player rankings, and, of course, big boards. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. All right, so let's get into some of the Malcolm Brogdon news here for the Washington Wizards. I'm going to pull up this tweet here that was circulating, I want to say yesterday, from Sports Illustrated. So Malcolm Brogdon, I mean, he's a good player. I like Malcolm Brogdon a lot. He's a guy that can defend, can shoot the three. So this is from Brett Siegel on NBA, Brett Siegel NBA. He said he's heard some rumblings about the Wizards showing trade interest in Pacers Malcolm Brogdon. Washington is looking to add an experienced guard in their backcourt next to Bradley Beal this offseason, and Malcolm Brogdon is under contract through the 2024-2025 season as a two-way guard. Basically, he's just saying that they're showing interest in Malcolm Brogdon, which is not a surprise to me. The Wizards are going to be snooping around and look at any veteran point guard that's available. You look at Malcolm Brogdon's contract here, just because the Wizards are going to have to do a sign and trade. They're over the salary cap, so they're going to have to match salaries here. So Malcolm Brogdon this year coming up in 2023, he's getting paid $22 million, which is a fair contract in my opinion for Malcolm Brogdon for the production that he's put up. Being a rookie of the year, 50-40-90 season as well. The way he can defend and get to the basket, a great combo guard. He can shoot the three. He can create a shot for himself. Very strong defender at the point of attack as well. Then he has an extension coming up in 2024, $22 million, 2025, $22 million. Now you look at you want to talk about injuries here and being, injury prone. Porzingis has missed a lot of games. So you're taking the risk. You're taking the risk with Malcolm Brogdon. This year he played 36 games. 2021 he played 56 games. 2020 he played 54 games. 2019 he played 64 games. 2018 he played 45 games. His rookie season he played 75 games. This year he averaged 19 points a game, 5 boards a game, 6 assists per game. He shot 31% from the three-point line. He's a 37% career three-point shooter. So for the most part, he's a really, really good above average three-point shooter. In 2019, where he had the 50-40-90 season with Milwaukee, shot 42% from the three, 15 points per game, 92% from the free throw line. So he had that 50-40-90 season. 85% free throw shooter, got to the line 4.6 times per shot, 4 free throws per game, about 5 free throws per game. And I really like that stat a lot because it shows how much pressure you put on the defense. Can you finish through contact? Can you get downhill and finish? And the game where he had against the Wizards, where everybody scored, a lot of point guards scored a lot of points against the Wizards. He had 28 points. Bradley Beal was in attendance at that game. And I was listening to the podcast with David Aldridge and Josh Robbins on The Athletic. He said that he thinks Bradley Beal likes Malcolm Brogdon. He would not say no to a John Wall reunion. So those are just some of the point guards to throw out there that they could possibly look at. But I feel like the fit with Brad and Brogdon would work out. Now, I'm scarred a little bit with Dinwiddie, what happened with Dinwiddie, because Dinwiddie was a combo guard. Malcolm Brogdon is not a pure point guard, but he's able to facilitate as well. Now, Bradley Beal had a career high in assists. I do want to point that out. That is a pro about Bradley Beal. His facilitating, the way he attracts double teams. Could have worked with him and Porzingis, that pick and pop, pick and roll. Could have worked with Malcolm Brogdon, where Bradley Beal doesn't have to have the ball in his hands as much. But has Bradley Beal become a high usage ball dominant player, where in the past with John Wall, he was a guy that just came off screens, was able to knock down threes, where Bradley Beal, his 3-point shooting was going down, but he's been better with ball handling and ISO ball and creating a shot for himself. So could he fit next to Malcolm Brogdon with more of a pure point guard? Russell Westbrook was a pass first point guard. Spencer Dinwiddie, he's a 6-man combo guard off the bench who needs the ball in his hands to be effective. We've seen Dinwiddie's had a couple bad games, single point games, and then he'll explode for about 2025 in the playoffs with the Mavericks, where you watch those games, he was best with the ball in his hands. Malcolm Brogdon, I feel like he's good off ball too, where he can knock down threes, he can move without the basketball, he can cut, he's a smart player. Went to Virginia, was coached by Tony Bennett. But who are you going to have to give up in a trade for Malcolm Brogdon? That's the question mark for me. Would it be a case? You got to match salaries. Would it be a KCP and Rui type deal, or would you do a KCP pick up Ish's option and then throwing a Corey Kispert in a first round pick? Do you really want to give up that much and your first round pick for Malcolm Brogdon? I'm not going to compare it to giving up a pick for Mike Miller and Randy Foye type of deal. But are you passing up on a good player at pick 10 that can really, really help you out in the future or help you out now? You never know who comes with that. If Benedict Mathurin drops at pick 10, what if he drops there and he can really, really help your team? So those are the things you have to consider there. Are you willing to trade young assets and talent for a guy, Malcolm Brogdon, who doesn't really move the needle? I think he would make the team better for sure. I think if they get Brogdon, he stays healthy. Bradley Beal has a great season, returns back to his 2020 form or 2021 form where they made the playoffs with Russell Westbrook, and Porzingis stays healthy and plays like he did in that last half of the year. Porzingis was balling. He was getting to the basket. They're running offense through him, and they're able to get one or two 3-and-D wings in free agency. And I think the Wizards could fight for that 6th seed, and that's probably their ceiling. So is it worth it to give up young assets for Malcolm Brogdon, pay him that money, that contract? The injury concerns are definitely something to consider as well. But Malcolm Brogdon is a good player. I think if they want to build around Bradley Beal, he probably is the top option at point guard. There's Jalen Brunson. Possibly you could take a look at Colin Sexton as well. And if John Wall's bought out, then you won't have to give up assets. So that's why you circle. That's why I circle back to John Wall on multiple occasions. But I do want to talk about the playoffs here real quick, and then I want to answer one mailbag question, and then we'll wrap up. But this episode is brought to you by Truebill. Truebill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, want, or simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with Truebill. And your Truebill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions so you don't have to. Truebill has over 2 million users and helps save them over $100 million. Like Matthew B., who says, in a matter of seconds, I saved $660 for the year on my DirecTV bill, saved $120 for the year on my Sirius XM bill. And he also saved $840 a year on his car insurance. Don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. That's all caps. Go right now, Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. It can save you thousands a year. All right, so the Celtics won last night. Jaylen Brown went crazy in that third and fourth quarter. I know he had some problems turning the basketball over, but now it's 3-2 Celtics. Right now, they're going to go back to Boston for Game 6. So I think the Celtics are going to wrap it up. I picked the Miami Heat to win the series, so I was wrong on that, but I was right with the Warriors. I think the Warriors are going to end the series against the Mavericks for sure. It should have been a sweep, in my opinion. They should have just ended it there in Dallas. But, the Heat couldn't hit any shots last night. They really couldn't hit anything. The Celtics, Jason Tatum and Al Horford and Robert Williams defensively, they've just done a heck of a Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown. Ime Udoka has done a really good job coaching that team up. Derek White had a good game off the bench with 14 points, 6 for 8 from the field, and Jaylen Brown had 25 points, led the team in scoring. It was somewhat of an ugly game. The second quarter, it was still in the 30s or 20s at one point. The playoffs have just been a hard watch. I mean, they were up by 20, 25 at one point. The game got ugly. There hasn't been any close games in the playoffs. This has been a underwhelming playoffs for sure. No buzzer beaters, no close games, no Dame Lillard waving goodbye to Paul George and Russell Westbrook. Nothing close to that at all. Everything's just been a blowout for these playoffs. So, but let's get to this one mailbag question here before we wrap it up. This one is from YouTube. It's from Abraham Sidibe. He says, "Thanks, Ed. Great video. Who do you like to see as the starting five if Sato leaves and we don't make any point guard trades?" So Sato is rumored to be pursued by Barcelona, some teams internationally. So I could definitely see him do that. See, how much money is he going to get from the NBA? We'll see what happens with that. But I definitely wouldn't be surprised if he does go overseas and play there instead of playing in the NBA. Now, I know Tommy Shepard likes him a lot. There's a reason why he signed him after that buyout, and they talked about Sato in press conferences a lot. So I think there's mutual interest in him coming back. I think that Tommy Shepard would love to see him back in D.C. for sure. But if we don't make any trades, so no trade for Jalen Brunson, no trade for Tyus Jones, or no trade for Malcolm Brogdon or possibly Kyrie Irving, no trades at all. And I wanted to mention Tim Connolly from the Nuggets, who the Wizards really, really pursued really hard. About 2 years ago now, he's going to be the GM and have partial ownership with the Timberwolves. I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the show. There are rumors that the Wizards did not give him a deal that he liked, or they could have gave him a better deal or a better offer, but he declined it, stayed with the Nuggets. Now he's going to the Timberwolves, and he'll be partial and have part ownership with the Timberwolves. So congrats to Tim Connolly on that. And I think Tim Connolly would have been a good GM for the Washington, which I think he definitely would have worked out. You see his track record with the Nuggets as well. So my starting five really quickly here, I would say if we don't trade for a point guard, then you would have to consider Bradley Beal at the point, and then I would sign Malik Monk in free agency, a 6'3" shooting guard, shot the lights out this year, 39% from the 3-point line, average 13 points a game, 3 boards, 3 assists. 39% from the 3-point line. I mean, the Wizards need shooting and athleticism, 79% free throw shooter, 83% free throw shooter in his career, 35% 3-point shooter in his career. And he shot a lot of threes. He shot 6 threes per game. He was shooting basically 40% from the three. And like I said, the Wizards need athleticism badly. Malik Monk is a high flyer, highlight reel dunker, highlight reel finisher, can finish through contact, could be a spark plug and super athleticism. Then I would draft Benedict Mathurin if he falls to 10. It's not likely or realistic right now, but if he's not there, I do like Ochai Agbaji at pick 10. Could be a little bit of a reach, but we just need defense and athleticism. Malachi Branham from Ohio State. He wouldn't be in my starting five. He would come off the bench. But like you asked me, my starting five, or Tari Eason, you can look at him too. My starting five would be point guard Bradley Beal, Malik Monk at the 2, KCP at the 3, filling what the Wizards would do. And then at the 4 would be Kuz, and the 5 would be Porzingis, because Bradley Beal did a really good job being point Bradley Beal when he had to. He had to play point guard because we just did not have a point guard last year or consistent point guard play. But the team looked good when he was playing point. He did look good. Him and Kuzma worked really, really well. But if they don't make any trades and they sign somebody in free, like I said, John Wall could be there in free agent after a buyout. Or you could look at somebody like a Patty Mills or Dennis Schroeder, Jalon Wright, any of those guys, point guard X. I think the Wizards would look at Ricky Rubio as well. Tyus Jones at the mid-level exception. If he doesn't get paid higher than that, then it would be one of those guys, one of those 5 guys I named at point guard. And then Brad at the 2, KCP at the 3, and then Kuz at the 4 and Zingas at the 5. That would be my starting 5. But I just want to thank you guys for listening and making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NBA from the first jump ball, the play-in tournament, to the last possession of the finals. Locked On experts take you deep inside the playoffs with insight and analysis affecting all 30 teams. Thank you guys for listening. Hell to the Wizards.